Somebody give me a shot.
Hello, hello, hello. You there, Chris?
I am here, sir. How are you?
We are here live from Billy's Bunker. And we got 6 people watching. Cool. Thanks, guys, for coming out. And we're continuing on my little series that I decided to make, which is talking about stuff to help you after the fall. So I got Chris Mitchell here. I was on Chris Mitchell's stream the other day, and he was talking about how he's familiar with chemistry and making home remedies. And this is an area that I am sorely lacking. I have some books on it, but I haven't done anything in practice. So tell me, Chris, how did you get involved in this kind of stuff? What made you? What was the interest in this?
Well, honestly, like where I come from, it's a very small kind of old-fashioned community. Even in the 80s, we were still back in like the 50s. You know what I mean? So a lot of people used to have their own equipment and stuff for home. Home remedies when it came to like extracts and stuff was kind of a norm. You wouldn't have to travel to too many houses before you found somebody who had this kind of equipment to do simple extracts and stuff. Now, myself, I mean, I continued on with that in high school for a little bit. And when I moved to the U.S. As an immigrant, I wasn't working as much. And, I had my kids there with my ex-wife. And I kind of picked it up again, right? So I started teaching the kids the basics because it didn't seem like it was a common thing there. I did find a few people that I had, essentially purchased equipment off while I was there, like private sales. And they would tell me, their mother or father used to do the same thing, but they never kind of carried on with the tradition. So, I mean, it's just something that I took the groundwork from our home area and from high school, and I just kind of carried on with it myself. I don't hold any degrees in anything. I'm mostly self-taught because the schools do very tame stuff, obviously, and they don't just cover like a straight up chemistry class. It's just one day you might be doing it, and a few months later you might do it again. So that's basically where I kind of went. And I mean, I was surprised actually when I moved to the US. Like I never kind of really looked into it anywhere else that I had been throughout my years being an adult. And I was surprised in the US at how few people actually even knew the very basics, like the very basics.
Well, a lot of it's the school system.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to teach people about, fake histories and woke crap and nothing of real substance. They're getting rid of programs like auto shop and woodworking and anything practical, and they're replacing them with gender studies and all this nonsense that you don't really need in life.
Well, most things, even in when I was in school, you never used again. You know what I mean? You use mostly basic math. Once you got it past like trigonometry, which you could use practically in a day-to-day life if you were to say get into amateur rocketry, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could plan out, your home rockets fucking falling points or destinations. Like, sure, okay, you could do that, but beyond that, the chances that most of us are going to go into fields where it's applicable is very slim. And you wouldn't do that until you were in like, university, right? So if I went for say astronautical engineering, then I'd need to know something a little more advanced than basic math. So, but yeah, they're getting rid of a lot of useful skills, life skills that we could all use every day on a day-to-day basis, like even home ec, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
they were
They
getting rid of that stuff when I was in high school,
yeah,
back in
that's what I'm
the
saying.
80s
Home
and
ec was the
90s.
home ec and shop was the first two to go.
Yep. Well,
So
now,
sorry, go
well,
ahead.
the latest story, I don't know if you heard it, was they had this science class. I forget where, Midwest somewhere, I think. And they were teaching the kids about sexuality in
Yeah,
science. And it was like, boys can be girls, girls could be boys, all this
not
kind of stuff.
not actual science.
Not
This is
actual
made up
science.
science. Yeah. Yeah, this is fucking you live in a fairy tale science,
Hmm.
which is not what we call science. We call it a fairy tale. Yeah. It's
So,
sad, man.
yeah, it is sad. So
It's
one of the
sad.
things you had mentioned in your stream was how you'd be you'd have all this science equipment that you would be making stuff in, and how people assumed you're making meth. So that's why I titled this "No, we're not making meth."
Yeah, when it was funny and frustrating at the same time. Everyone, because I mean, I kept my hobbies in my garage, right?
Mhm.
So, when people would come to visit, say like family members of my ex-wife and whatnot, they would, the guys would generally pop into the garage and say hello. And yeah, if they saw a piece of lab equipment out, that was the first thing that popped to their heads. And I was like, that's fucking hilarious. And at the same time, that's pathetic. You know, it's sad that that's where your mind goes first. Not that I can't do it. You know what I mean? It's just that's
We
not
want,
what's happening here.
we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
want
not that
it thrown
it's
off
not that it
YouTube here.
can't be done, but you can do shake and bake in a fucking Gatorade bottle. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So if you see somebody with a Gatorade bottle, do you go up and ask them, "Hey, are you making meth?" You
Well,
know?
I guess it would be, is it the blue kind? Like
Yeah.
the Breaking Bad. They have the
Yeah.
special kinds.
uh,
Well, that's about the extent of what I know about making meth, was what I saw in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was the peak time of that show too, and I think that kind of influenced the whole meth making thing,
Oh, I'm
you know.
sure.
But it was kind of funny. Like I had one guy, like I had mentioned that I hung out with one of my ex-wife's family members who was a part of the militia group there, right? And they fancy themselves preppers, and I think a lot of people fancy themselves preppers, and they think of A, B, and C, and then they forget the rest of the alphabet.
Yeah.
But guess what? When A, B, and C don't work, you're fucked, right?
Well, that's just that I bought supplies for, general supplies, as far as like vitamins
Hmm.
and pain relievers and cold relief and
Hmm.
these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But to make stuff is a bit out of my scope, and we're not going to get into like serious deep stuff. But you had mentioned making penicillin, which
Yep.
is really cool. I think this would be an interesting thing to share with people.
One of the
And
simplest things you can make.
insulin, that would
Yes.
be would be a couple levels up. So we'll start with the simple, well, quote unquote simple, and we'll go up to insulin.
Okay.
And if people aren't interested, then bounce off. But we're going to get, I guess, sciencey now, and discuss. So you sent me a bunch of pictures. So
Yeah.
where should I start, with the equipment, or
Well, you said you wanted to start talking about the penicillin, right?
the
So
penicillin? Yeah.
look at those strawberries. So show the picture of these strawberries.
All right. Screen 2, share. Whoa, what's going on there?
You glitched it out.
All right. So we
So
got
yes.
some nappy looking strawberries.
Yes, but look at that white mold on there. That is like absolutely perfectly healthy white mold that is growing. It's the same mold that'll grow in your bread, But generally where it starts in like bread and like cheese or something like that, it starts deep inside. So what you see on the surface is essentially the bloom, just like how mushrooms work, right? Like most of the mushroom is, or the plant is actually underground. What you see at the top is just the release of like seed pods, and that's what we call mushrooms, right?
Okay.
So the psilocybin, if I'm saying that right, which I'm probably not, is actually underground. It stays basically out of sight. Now with the this is the like I said, it's the same mold that grows on your bread right there and in your cheese. When it grows on bread, that white culture that you're seeing there is actually in the bread. So you generally see green stuff on top, right? Now this will turn green eventually. That's the beauty of taking it off of fruit, is you get the core of that culture. And these types of molds, when they die, when they grow out in like chains, right? So if you can pull up a picture of the penicillins like culture, you'll see it'll grow up like a stalk with a bunch of roots, or I guess limbs, and then you'll see these little like daisy chain clusters at the top as they spread out or as they grow. Well, as they grow, they actually die. The piece behind them dies off, right? So only the tips essentially live. That's why if you look at a picture of mold in a petri dish, you'll see a green center with a white edge. The white edge is what's alive. What it leaves behind is actually penicillin, because that's all dead. I don't know if you
So
could.
I think you sent me a couple other pictures here.
Yeah, I don't think I added one, but
So basically, I would scrape this off, correct? This white
yes,
stuff,
you would scrape that off, right?
right?
Once it's green, it's dead. Okay, so we're looking at actual living culture right here. You can see on that one in the very back of this picture, it's starting to turn green.
Yeah.
So that was most likely the oldest part. So most likely that's where it all started, and all the rest is like afterthought spreading around.
So this is when it looks like this. This is when I want to harvest this
Yes,
stuff.
you can take this culture and harvest it. You can not harvest it, but you can grow it, right? So this is where you would take a piece of this now, you would add it to a solution, right? That's generally, you can use lactate, which is like if you've ever opened up cream cheese, right? And you've noticed there's a skim of liquid on the top that's clear, that's pure lactate,
Okay.
right? So that diluted with distilled water, distilled purified water, in a above room temperature environment would be ideal for this culture to grow in. And it would grow and do its thing, right? It would become, it would live out its lifespan. And when you were ready to kill it off, you would kill it off. And all that would be left behind would be a solution of penicillin with a light trace amount of lactate. But they would use up most of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So how much, like say this package here, how much would something like this yield?
If you were to just leave it as it was, right? And let's say you let this culture go now until everything turned basically green. Just to where everything turned green, not to where the strawberries became a liquid in the fucking bottom of the tray. I would say you could probably get essentially 2 weeks to 3 weeks worth of treatment, if not more, just from what you're seeing there.
Well, usually that would be enough to kill anything. I mean, usually they put you on penicillin for about a week.
Yeah.
Right.
So there would be more than enough penicillin there to probably treat 2 or 3 people with a light dose, right? Because when it comes to the infections, what penicillin does, think of the infection as like your body's a furnace, and the infection is a person in your hot furnace with a fireproof suit on. So this culture or infection can walk around and do whatever it wants because it's immune to your system. All the penicillin does is it destroys the suit, and it allows your body to destroy the virus.
Mhm.
So that's how penicillin works. It just basically tears down the protective walls and says, have at him. So penicillin doesn't essentially kill the virus itself. It just stops it dead in its track and allows your body to do the rest. But without it, your infection runs rampant.
Okay, so let's write out the steps, if we could.
If we could. Okay,
Yes.
so you want to develop a culture, is what you're saying.
Okay.
So take your sample there, scrape it off your strawberry, whatever you take your sample off, right? Now you need a vessel, right? So you need your vessel, and you would prefer to put it in a vessel that air can't get back into. You know what I mean? So you need like one of those curved pipettes that allows it allows air to flow through, but it doesn't allow anything to go in. You know what I mean? It's just curved in a weird way.
Okay, so it's not, you don't want airtight.
No, you don't need it airtight. No. Now you can still do it airtight, but you have to put something else into your culture solution, right?
Okay, so the vessel you want would be, what did you call it?
Well, it would be an enclosed vessel that has flow, but it has like a neck on it that dips down, so nothing can get up through. Like little particles of dust and stuff cannot get up through it.
Okay.
So it just has like a big U curve kind of coming out of the top. Those are the simplest ways. Now, like I said, you can do it in a completely closed vessel, but you will have to let it breathe once in a while, right?
Okay. And breathing would be like just opening up for a moment, or
it's almost like burping. You know how they burp wine vessels and beer vessels? I think that's what they call it, burping. So you allow the pressure to bleed off, and then you just reclose it. Same sort of thing.
Forgive my
it's all good, buddy.
My spelling if I fuck up on spelling.
That's okay. I fuck up all the time. Cue my dyslexia.
Airing. Okay. Next.
Next, you would keep the solution at least like a 22-degree temperature, so above average room temperature in the summer, right? Because you don't want it to die off prematurely.
Oh, 22 degrees. You're talking in Canadian,
Celsius. Yeah, Celsius. So above room temperature.
Above room temperature.
Room temperature. Just above room temperature is fine.
Okay.
Now you want to build your solution. So you would take distilled, purified water, preferably distilled.
Okay.
And you would add in probably a 15 to 20% of lactate to it, which you can get, like I said, off cream cheese, that comes in tubs, or even sour cream. You can even use that. Sour cream will separate out really easily, and if you let it sit long enough, that surface skim will come on there. Okay. But essentially, you want to. It's a milk-based protein that you're adding in, right?
Okay.
So that's going to be essentially one of the main components for the culture to feed off, right? Is lactate. Essentially, then all you need to do is keep it in a fairly dark condition and warm. So a lot of people will, like, even in the factories where they do this on a massive scale, they use a hot water bath, and these vessels just circulate on just float around on a hot water bath, and they
Okay.
stay in there for so long, and then they start harvesting them out. But so it's should take about, like, if you were to do a simple culture, within about 2 weeks, or maybe even a week and a half, your process is completely done. Right. So now what you need to do, you can do this one of two ways. If your culture has grown really well and it's bloomed to where you have like lots of these hairs now that are all filling up the vessel,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not just in solution, you can essentially put it through a mixing process to where you knock all those hairs down into the solution and make like a slurry.
Okay.
Right. Now your process is pretty much done. All you have to do is separate, because you don't want all these solids to actually go into like an injection process, right? Which is how a lot of penicillin is given, through injection. If you use even a simple coffee filter, right? Separate out your fluid solution from your solid remains. Now you have two processes for administering this penicillin, all in one step. The liquid that falls through can be diluted and given as an injection, and the solids that are left over can be dried and taken orally.
Oh, so filtering.
So it's a double whammy for one process, right? And you will always notice the smell. The smell of antibiotic is unique, and that's why if you open up really moldy bread, something that's completely green, it smells almost identical to antibiotics, because they are all made from the same process. And that's one of the key ways that you can really tell that you've gotten your process at least down semi right. Now, how you dilute it really goes to that percentage of lactate that you've put in and how long the culture has gone, right?
So you said 15 to 20%.
Yeah, some people will even try up to 40 to 45%, but I'm talking like basic. Let's start with very basic first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you fuck up, the chances that you will kill somebody is minimal, or that you would do any harm to yourself. And if you ever want to test yourself for a penicillin, like an allergic reaction to penicillin, you can do what they call the scratch test. So you just take like a little needle, dip it in it, scratch it on the underside of your arm, the really soft, sensitive spot, or give yourself like a little poke, but not enough to actually draw blood.
Well,
And this sorry, go ahead.
I would figure people would know if they were allergic to penicillin or not.
You'd be surprised how many people have never taken penicillin. They've only ever gotten moxicillin or another derivative.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. So sorry to interrupt. So, okay. So how to test for allergy?
Allergies to penicillin. This same allergy test for penicillin is the exact same allergy test that you can give for everything.
Okay, good.
So if you scratch the skin a bit, or just poke it in enough, but like say just barely enough to even draw blood, you wait for that spot, and if it swells up red, you're having an allergic reaction. If nothing changes and it's just a little scratch or a little spot, after about 25 minutes, you're good to go.
So you scratch the skin with a little bit of the penicillin.
With a little bit of the solution on the needle, yeah. Or you can just poke it just a little bit, you know what I mean? You just want to break a couple layers of skin, but you don't actually want to go right into the arm or anything. But that's how they do allergy tests for people with, especially kids, right, who haven't tried a lot of things. They will allergy test on the underside of their arm or on their back, and you just watch for red dots to pop up.
breads. If needle, and if red and dots appear, then the person has an allergy. I know I'm definitely spelling penicillin wrong. I'm spelling it penicillin.
That's okay.
Whatever. It
That's
works.
okay. Here, I shared the screen there, and I'm showing you the mold cultures that
Hold on. You want me to add to the screen here? Yeah, let's do that.
There we go. Perfect. So this green one over here is obviously a different species.
Mhm.
But this white one here is exactly what we're dealing with downstairs in that box. And even this one here. So you see that living white edge? That's all fresh, brand new, and alive. Everything in here is pretty much dead. Anything that turns blackish to dark green is dead. And let's see if I can get a blown up picture. So yeah, there's the same one. Oh, what the fuck just happened? Sorry.
That's okay.
So that's exactly the same mold we're dealing with downstairs on an orange. And if you look at this lemon, this orange here, you can see it's starting to turn green on the inside. So that's all dead culture. Not that it can't be revived and you can get live culture out of it, but it's essentially dead culture. And I'm trying to find the picture. Here we go. So do you see the little daisy chain on the top there?
Yeah.
That's essentially penicillin right there. That's your penicillin. That's what it leaves behind. As it grows outwards, it will leave behind these little chains. They're all still interconnected, so they all feed, right? But what's left behind here is essentially penicillin. Straight up pure penicillin. Now it all depends.
You'd want to use an organic material that would be something you would normally ingest, right? You don't want to get like tree spore, like tree mold or something.
No. Right? Well, I mean, different types of mold grow on different types of things, right? The reason, even the person who first, noticed that mold cultures were killing bacteria was completely by accident. And the reason you see a lot of pictures use oranges is because when he went to his demonstration to the board, stating that he had found a cure for viruses and it was simply a mold spore, he lost all of his samples. So he went to a fruit stand and asked for any old fruit that had mold on them, and he took in an orange. It's just fun little facts that, if you see people showing pictures of moldy oranges talking about penicillin, that's why. It's because that's what he took in to actually, because he left all of his cultures or lost all of his cultures that were in petri dishes wherever and couldn't postpone. So he actually had to go and try to recreate it really quick. And that's how he found it. That's why a lot of people use the orange as the example.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there he is.
Well, I mean, oranges aren't indigenous to all over. So you want to use like a, like you said, breads or
and that's how
that's indigenous to the area that they're in, right?
That's how he noticed. He ate his lunch in his lab while over a petri dish, which was a sandwich, went away for a few days, came back and noticed that the culture of the bacteria he was looking at, the infections, were dead. And he looked at what was happening in the center of his dish, and essentially this picture here is what he was kind of looking at. So the pieces of bread that fell into his petri dish ended up molding, and the mold killed the infection.
It's awesome.
Right?
One fast act. He's saying, "I hope you don't get in trouble with Susan for medical misinformation."
No, it's not medical misinformation. We're literally looking at it.
This is a disclaimer. These are home remedies. We're not doctors. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, right, Chris?
Nope, not that I checked.
These are, Hey, look, if you're stuck out in the wild and you need a cure, the person you're with, people you're with need a cure. Hopefully, you'll never have to get to that point in your life, but right, it's good to be prepared.
It's what we've used for thousands of years, man, without even knowing it. Thousands of years.
Yeah.
People, even in Egypt, used to take moldy bread and put it on wounds because they knew that the moldy bread would keep the infection away. They didn't know why. They didn't know the whys behind it. Same reason they didn't know why using honey would do it. But honey dries out a bacteria, so the bacteria essentially dies from a lack of hydration. And of course, it's only good topically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you get past a certain depth into the body, honey is not going to be effective at all. But yeah, if you ever wonder why your antibiotics smell like moldy bread, now you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little different than moldy bread. So they use the strain that's recultured all the time now. So they've lost any scent of like fruit or bread that goes in there, but they all smell a certain way. And once fruit or bread go to a certain point, smell, with mold, they all smell like antibiotics. There's why. Because it is.
Well, let me ask you a question. Speaking of antibiotics, why are they using like you had mentioned amoxicillin and all these other like why did they move away from penicillin?
Well,
Seems,
amoxicillin is a derivative of penicillin, right? Just like almost all the others. The reason they move away from giving everyone penicillin is the exact same reason why I told you should test yourself out before you actually take it. It's because not everyone's immune to the effects of penicillin. Most people haven't taken a shot of actual penicillin in their life. They've taken a derivative, which is generally amoxicillin.
okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that's okay.
you can take amoxicillin even if you have an allergic reaction to penicillin itself. Amoxicillin is the one that goes for everybody, where with penicillin, it's a roll of the dice sometimes.
One fast Dak wants to know. He's saying, isn't penicillin becoming ineffective because the viruses are becoming smarter?
Yes.
Or getting smarter?
Yes. They're becoming immune. Right? So the stronger our penicillins get, the stronger the viruses get eventually. Now, straight up penicillin, this form of penicillin is going to take care of any infection that you get through wounds, ear infection, a mouth infection in the like say your teeth or something are damaged, you'll get a mouth infection. It's there for all of that. Now, if you're somebody who's had a problem throughout their lives and they've been pumped full of antibiotics for fucking decades, and the hospitals are the worst places for this because these infections are always present there. There are some that have lived for a long time and spread around, and then they become staph infections. When you get a staph infection, this is a mutated form of an infection, a normal infection that has gotten immune to antibiotics, especially straight up regular penicillin or amoxicillin, stuff like that. They're now super viruses, and regular penicillin doesn't cure them. You know what I mean? Like, you can even sterilize a place. If you're using anything less than fucking molten lava, they'll probably survive. So that's where the weakness of penicillins come in. It's if you've been pumped full of them constantly, or if you're in an area where like viruses can spread around and mutate and spread around again and mutate without actually being eradicated. And staph infections, you're going to get most staph infections from hospitals.
Well, and you can get it in the wild too.
Mostly no. You won't
Really?
get no. Staph infection is a mutated form of virus. If you cut your arm out in the wilderness The odds that it'll get infected, not as high as you think, for one. And the most basic antibiotics will most likely take care of it. Now, if you go to a hospital where viruses can be spread around, they can remain on surfaces, get into other people, multiply, mutate, get used to things like amoxicillin, penicillin, and cybacillin, stuff like that, you're now looking at a real problem. And usually the only solution, like, dude, they have pumped some people full of antibiotics that are fucking like off the charts. You know what I mean? Like, the chances that you were going to kill this person just from the injection alone, right, was just as high as the virus killing it. There are some strong antibiotics out there that even viruses don't fucking, it doesn't fade the virus, doesn't phase it at all. But your regular outside infection, no. Most likely regular penicillin is going to take care of it. Even if you get like an ear infection, or like I said, a mouth infection, gangrene starts to set in. Now you really need penicillin if something's going to go to gangrene. You know what I mean? Like, if you lose a limb and you don't deal with it pretty quickly, gangrene can set in, and gangrene spreads really rapidly. So this is what you need to stop that gangrene, or, you know, you have to cut off the limb.
What's more effective, the liquid form or the solid, or is there no difference?
There's not really any difference. They both do the same job. It's just one is more rapid and direct. So if I give you an injection, it's straight into your bloodstream. If you take it orally, your liver processes about 30 to 60% of it, right? And that's where it'll start spreading from your body. Generally, though, not many people carry nice, clean syringes with them, right? As for the clap, I don't know. I haven't had the clap, but I'm sure a shot of penicillin will clear that right up.
One Fast was asking.
Yeah.
And if Free Cat was saying he'd rather take the oranges and make alcohol.
Yeah, well, you can do that afterwards.
Oh, hey, elaborate, please. Give us a lesson on that.
I mean, most fruit juices you can turn into alcohols, right? Or you can turn them into acetone, which is what I used to do with black walnuts. So
black walnuts are nasty.
Yeah, that's why they're good for making acetone, and that's about it.
There was a tree that was behind my garage. I have a separate garage, and it was my neighbor's tree, and it had the black walnuts, and those, you know, they're like crab apples almost. They're so big, and they would come down they would hit the roof, and they'd fly down the roof. I couldn't stand it. I was so glad when they took that tree down, and they stink. They're really just smelly.
You know, it's a fun fact because during World War I, when the British were still making the nitrocellulose sticks to go into their bullets, they weren't using like a grainy form. They were using sticks of this nitrocellulose, right? I believe I mentioned that to you as well. It's smokeless gunpowder. They were running out of corn supplies and, you know, barley supplies to make acetone, right? They were putting that to, because, you know, desperate times, you have to reallocate your natural goods. And they brought in a specialist to come up with a solution to how they could keep the manufacturing scale going for ammunition. And one of the biggest shortages they had was synthesizing acetone. And the guy was on his way to a meeting, and he was watching kids play a game called Conkers, where you use the nuts of the black walnut and you try to hit each other's walnut on a string as hard as you can until it cracks. And that's where he came up with the solution when they said when they told him that they were out of you know, corn and barley, right? They didn't want to use corn and barley for this. We need a solution. He was like, you got lots of black walnuts around, we're going to use them. And they started making acetone with black walnuts.
So, okay, because I have black walnuts around. how would you go about doing what
I
you're
imagine
saying?
the same
Same
fermentation process.
process.
Yeah, same fermentation process. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I haven't tried it myself with black walnuts, but or at least on a large scale, right? But I imagine that they'd use the exact same process that I've used, but on a much larger scale. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you don't get a lot from, say, a 2,000 milliliter vessel worth of black walnuts. You're not going to get that much acetone. You might get like 2 or 3 fluid ounces,
Mm.
right? But yeah,
Right.
most fermentation will give you alcohols of some kind or some other type of solvent, well, you can get vinegar, or you can end up with acetone, or you can take all three off in some cases. Because I mean, vinegar is essentially like a pass date for most mash, right?
Hmm.
And if you leave it even longer and then distill it, you're essentially distilling off acetone. So if you miss the window for alcohol type of thing, you can end up with vinegar, and you can end up with acetone if you let it go longer. But it's all about fermentation, you know?
Well, both vinegar and acetone are good for cleaning.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different strengths of cleaning.
I prefer bleach. Bleach everything.
Well, yeah. Well, but how how would you make bleach?
Well, no, that's a different process.
Yeah.
That's a different process, and it's a bit out of my range.
Yeah, because that seems like it would be useful, but it would be kind of dangerous, I would think.
Yeah, you're dealing with equipment that's generally under pressure, and sometimes in some cases they're heated.
Hmm.
Like I could probably explain crude oil distillation to you easier and say you could probably set this up in a day or two. But to make actual bleach, I mean, and that's a process that requires most likely well, you'd need some petroleum products, and you would need some organic products, right? Because it's all about the end results there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
no,
So
it's a
we won't
simple.
we
Yeah,
won't go into this.
it's a simple one, but apparently, yeah, it's one I haven't tried just because it's so readily available.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm just all thinking emergency situations and whatnot. And I know the bleach, like one of the preppers things to do is to have a couple of buckets of chlorine bleach, like the pool supply stuff.
Yeah,
So
actually,
they,
if you wanted to get into learning basic chemistry, your pool supply store is literally a gold mine.
yeah.
A gold mine. It's like they carry so many products that you can use. Even potassium permanganate, it's very rare to see it up here, but you go into a pool supply store and they will have it most likely. It'll be very expensive,
Hmm.
right? Ammonia, yeah, it's easier to make ammonia. Ammonia you can get out of urine, you know.
Yes.
I
Oh,
can make paint with urine. So
yeah. Well, the Greeks, or not the Greeks, the Romans used to use urine for lots of stuff. They used to brush their teeth with it. They used
oh
to
yeah. Yeah.
use it for medical situations. I remember learning about
Clothes,
all that stuff. Yeah, this was
dyeing.
cleaning the clothes and
Yeah.
dyeing.
Yeah. Tanners used it, the old saying, there's nothing a tanner won't use. Right. But yeah, I mean, this stuff is all around us. It's just if you took the most complicated thing, right? Like
Mhm.
say you took I don't know, a piece of plastic out of your fucking phone or off your whatever. Those same properties that have made that plastic are most likely sitting all around you, in some form or another, but it's all very basic, right? Everything's stripped apart. So now not only is it stripped apart, but it's mixed in with everything else. You know what I mean? It's like lithium mining. Well, we have to strip a fucking large quantity of earth to separate out enough lithium to make one small battery, right?
Yeah.
But it's all about separating it out and condensing it to the point where it's usable. I mean, the air is what, 43% nitrogen or 63% nitrogen, right? But
Yes.
yet, how do you get it out of the air into a more pure form to where it's usable for, cosmetics, explosives, medicine, fertilizer, all those other things? It's all process, right? And actually taking nitrogen out of the air is not an easy process. It's a very big and long, arduous process. So we have better ways of doing it. Your urine actually, who was that? Bob talked about urine. Don't drink it. But whatever you just had up there.
Oh, Riggs was asking if you drink your
No, I do
pee.
not drink my pee. But you would be surprised how many products you go through every day that your piss can actually be used to make it. You would be surprised. There's everything in it. Sulfur, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. You got other carbons that are essentially used for plastics and stuff that are all sitting in your urine. You piss it down the toilet every day.
Well, I hope it never comes to me having to use my pee to make things.
Hey, man.
I really don't.
That's how it started. And I mean, you'd be surprised how it's used today. I mean, look at urea. Urea is a part of urine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big part of it. It's essentially the salts that are left over. If you were to just basically decant the water out of your urine, eventually you would be left with these white crystals. And some of it does contain just regular salt, and some of it as a portion of, nitrogen and stuff that's locked away in it. But you can separate out the salts themselves and get pure urea. Urea is actually used in most paints.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Guess what else it's used in? Instant cold packs.
Again, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Urea-based instant cold packs were what was replacing the what was it? It's nitrogen sulfates that were in cold packs, because we used to use the nitrogen sulfates as a way, like the ice cold packs, as a way to get pure nitrogen out of them, right? Or potassium nitrates. And or these were ammonia nitrates that's actually in the cold pack. So we were purifying it and distilling it off to get the pure nitrogen out. But they swapped that out because a lot of people were using them for nefarious fucking reasons, right? So they swapped it out with urea. Well, you can do the exact same thing with urea. It's just somebody forgot to mention it to the people that were using the regular ammonium nitrate for fucking nefarious reasons. But yeah, you can also take that stuff and make fucking paint. So
I should call it. One Fast Doc asked if, and I've heard of this too, if you get stung from a jellyfish, that
pee on the wound.
Pee on it, and it should be okay. Not that there's jellyfish in Alberta. Last I checked.
Yeah, and there's some jellyfish that really won't matter. You're not making it back to shore if you're stung.
Yeah. Well, I do scuba dive, and one time I think it was in Mexico. Yeah, it was in Mexico, and I jumped in literally into the middle of a huge flow of jellyfish.
Yeah, they call them blooms.
I had to bomb it down to the bottom to get the hell out of it, and it was like a good 40-foot drop to get out of it.
Yeah,
not fun.
Jellyfish wounds are not pleasant for the most part.
Luckily, they didn't get me because they were like the little ones. I don't know if they didn't have stingers or whatnot in them, but it was pretty nasty.
No, most likely they did. Most jellyfish do have the prawns. They're essentially like little spears with barbs on them,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the ammonia that's in your urine is what kind of helps to ease the pain of just a regular jellyfish sting. Now, if you're stung by like a box jellyfish or something, see you later. What would you like on your tombstone? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So box jellyfish are a bit of a different story. You to pee on a wound from a jellyfish, if it's just stinging because it burns like a motherfucker, it's like poison ivy kind of thing. All you're doing is relieving the pain from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. You're not actually washing away those barbs. Those barbs are going to be still there. They're just so fine that they're smaller than hair. You know what I mean? They're smaller than the width of human hair.
How do you get them out of you? Do
You
you know?
don't. They just eventually degrade and break down, right?
Ugh, that sounds awful.
It's not pleasant.
No.
I haven't been stung by many jellyfish, but I can tell you it's right up there with poison ivy on
Thankfully, I've
your
never been stung.
yeah, and these weren't lethal in any way.
All right. So, how about we look at some of this equipment you sent me pictures of, and then I have
Yeah, but
go ahead.
I tried to pull up some like basic lab sets. You know what I mean?
So is this hold on. This was your this is some of your stuff, right? Or
That's
was
some of
some?
my old stuff, yeah. That's still trapped in fucking Wisconsin. But yeah, basics like that's all, 24, 40 fucking ground glass joints. Like each piece could be like 40 to 100 fucking dollars, you know what I mean?
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah, like some of that shit is not cheap. Dude, those columns, well those are all little beakers. So this part is cheap. You can actually see that's where I did that beaker there with the black fluid in it.
Yeah.
That's an iodine clock reaction that I did with the kids.
Let's see what else we got. These are the expensive ones? Oh, I think Chris left us for a moment doing kids in bed things, I imagine.
He
So,
just ran in here to get me, so I'll just be a
that's
minute.
okay. Yeah, take your time. Let's see. Talk about my weekend while we're waiting for Chris. I went and actually I saw The Godfather was playing in the movie theater. I was shocked. I guess it was the 50th anniversary. So I'm like, well, I'll go see The Godfather on the big screen. Why not? I've never seen it on the big screen. And it was a pretty cool experience. And you know what? You watch it. I mean, that movie came out in 72, obviously. It's 50 years old. Still holds up pretty darn well. The only issue that I have with that movie is James Caan as Sonny. His hairstyle was kind of early 70s. And he doesn't, like, imagine if they had Robert De Niro as Sonny. Wow, that movie would have been flawless. And then the other part that got me was Fredo. Towards the end, when Mo Green, he was having that meeting with him and Michael and Mo Green, and he looked very late 60s, early 70s look to him. And the time period was supposed to be like early 1950s. So I don't know if people dressed like that in the 50s, to be honest. Are you back?
I am back, yeah.
I was just talking about, I saw The Godfather was playing it for the 50th anniversary. They were playing it at my local movie theater. So
It's
I saw
funny.
it.
I don't actually see how delayed do you have this?
Well, if you put it on YouTube, just I guess automatically puts a delay on it.
Really? Because we've been on this screen for a while and I'm not seeing any of that. Huh.
What are you not seeing?
Starting to wonder if your stream is up or if my phone has crashed.
Maybe your phone has crashed because right now I have what looks like some kind of glass tube.
Yeah, so you got some glassware there and you've got
Yeah.
couple connectors.
While you were doing the nighttime stuff, I was talking about the 50th anniversary of Godfather. So I totally went completely off track because I don't know chemistry so I couldn't really pontificate in great length about the subject. That's why I have you on.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, some of the stuff you're showing there is more of like step ups, right? So a lot of these ones on the top, you can see there's like 6 of them there, and there's another one at the bottom there.
Now, are these the expensive?
Well, they can get pretty expensive. Some of them are only like $40, but once you got the ground glass joints that lock together that are not just straight tubes, that's where they get a bit pricey, right? I might have to restart my phone here, homie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the rest are just kind of collection flasks or distilling bottles, stuff like that. So that stuff's pretty average price, right? This
stuff looks expensive.
Yeah, these are the 2440 ground glass joints, right? They're specifically fitted to lock together and with a sealing lubricant. And if you look just on the left side there, you can actually see the plastic green clip connectors, right? So those are pretty pricey. Like the two-way is probably, $40 or $50. Each one of those is probably $30 to $40. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now in the back there, you see those long fuckers right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are about $120 a piece.
Now, these have like the little glass that spins, like stuff spins its way up?
No, that's not distilling heads. There's actually a distiller, a condenser right there in the middle. Yeah, this one. Don't come down one.
That one.
That's your condenser. So
Okay.
you can see the one water hookup right there, but you can't see the other one on the other side. But those are actually separation vessels at the top there.
Mm-hmm.
And those are huge. Those are like 3 feet long, right? They get pretty pricey. But a lot of this stuff is, I think I use those things like once. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's not something you need that big. It's just that's what came with the kit. And I used them once or twice. Great, because one of them had a nice filter in the bottom, right?
Okay.
Where the other one you have to add a filter each time you use it. But the other one had like a nice stone filter in the bottom, so that one was a bit more pricey. But it came with the set, so I obviously kept it.
And
that was my workbench. That's the one I melted my back on.
See, now this looks like you're making meth. I would be like your friends. I'd be like, bro, you making meth here? Like, what's
it's
up?
Just because my welding helmet was there.
Well, yeah, that's kind of.
Well, it's because I was moving stuff around. That's all. So right there, you see a bottle of stump remover. Right,
this orange bottle.
Yeah. You can't buy that legally here in Canada, but that's potassium nitrate. Stump remover is potassium nitrate. So it's all about where you can find products, right? I mean, you find that in a hardware store. I think I bought that at Lowe's.
And what would you use that for?
Potassium nitrate. It's one of the main ingredients in most explosives.
And why do you need potassium nitrate, Chris?
You know what gunpowder is, right? Potassium nitrate is that main ingredient.
Yeah. So if you wanted to, you could make your own gunpowder, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can make gunpowder in a few ways, right? So yeah, this was me probably unpacking some gear. It's just what I had lying around. Obviously, it's before I burnt the desk and my back. But if you go back to that other picture, you see that big black spot there under the scales and the helmet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where my beaker, I broke it full of nitric acid.
Oh, geez.
And I got to it as quick as I could to dump the solution on it, and it still burnt the wood. Now, droplets rolled down and stuck on the bottom of that piece of 2x4, and when I went down there to clean up the glass, the solution that I dumped on never touched it. So when I scraped my back on the fucking 2x4, it soaked into my shirt and onto my skin, and that's what did the damage to my back. But you can see the bottles.
You were talking about on your stream where you had the big welts, like the golf ball size things you were talking about, or no?
No, yeah, where the burn ended up being the size of 2 golf balls side by
Yes.
side. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's where I did it. And you can see the bottle of new solution on the side there. It's just in a milk jug, right? So it's just baking soda in water, right? Dissolved into water. If you're dealing with with any acids, that's something that is a mandatory to keep around. Because like I said, that was just a small beaker. I think it was a 10 mil beaker that I broke, and it did that kind of damage to the desk.
Well,
And of course, yeah, it was only a small spot on my back, about the size of the top of your pinky finger, right?
yeah.
And when it was done killing the tissue around it, it was the size of 2 golf balls side by side.
That sounds horrendous.
And it died and liquefied. It just putrefied under
Oh,
the bandage overnight. And when we took off the bandage to change it out, I think it was 2 days. It was fucking massive, and it was down to muscle tissue. You know what I mean? Everything that was underneath that still structured together layer of skin that came off was basically goo, like pussy goo. That's what a drop of this pure nitric acid can do to you. So, not something you want to fuck with if you don't have to, and if you do, small scale, right?
Well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about making penicillin and making
Yeah.
what's
And
the
of
other
course,
thing? What's the other thing we're going to make tonight? We're going to talk
you
about
wanted to talk about insulin.
insulin. Yes.
Insulin.
But let me just let's just, I think this is, we only have a picture or two left. Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah. I couldn't find many, and I had to pull those off Facebook. Yeah, no, it wasn't pleasant.
Is that Parmesan cheese, Chris?
No, that was a bottle that I think I was keeping. What was it?
Do you know Hunter Biden?
No.
Come on, fess up.
No, I don't. That's just an old bottle that I kept. I think it was copper sulfate in, because I was doing the spray sulfates for fire, when we had bonfires to show the kids, right? So copper sulfate burns greenish blue, and I think that's what I kept it in. But yeah, mortar and pestle, little vials like that, beakers, all very cheap stuff to get. Mortar and pestle is probably pretty handy. If they're affordable, you want to get like a fairly large one. But I just had a little tiny one.
Well, you can get those pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
I think I've seen them at Walmart even.
You can crash out the chemicals you need from so much stuff. Like I said, people throw away their ice packs when they use them. Not me. I pop them open, dump the contents into one of those beakers, and start boiling, right? Because once you distilled it down to a concentration that's high enough in the chemicals that are in there, and you've gotten rid of enough water, all you have to do is let it cool, and those crystals will crash out and it can be all reused again. It never really gets destroyed. It just changes. That was probably the one thing I really liked about what was said on Breaking Bad. What is chemistry? Chemistry is the study of change, because nothing's really gone. It just changes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the food you eat breaks down and gets used, but it's just changed. It's not gone. You know what I mean? It's just changed.
Right. I remember one time in science class, one of my friends he was saying, like Hitler peed in a toilet and it flushed and it went out to the ocean and got sucked up into a cloud and rained down across the world, and now you're drinking Hitler's pee.
Yep. All the water that is on Earth has been on Earth since day one.
Yeah. Yes, it has.
It's just recycled. That's why when we talk about contaminating water tables, right? Especially with items that don't go away, like they can't be filtered out through the ground. They can't be filtered out through, evaporation, or they can't be filtered out through even say if it were to seep down to where temperatures essentially boiled it and it became part of like the lower crust of the water reservoirs that are sitting down near the lower crust boiling away to be pushed out through geysers and stuff, these chemicals will stay there. They will stay locked onto a water molecule, and that's where like contaminating those water tables are such a problem, right? So yeah, we're going on to insulin.
Insulin. Let's talk about insulin. Let me clear my slate. Anybody who wants to make a quick screenshot of this before I get rid of it. And here we go.
Yeah, right. And you guys can look up all kinds of processes that'll make the same products, guys.
All right. How to make insulin.
Okay. Easy way. You can see in this picture, Mr. Piggy has a pancreas. That pancreas is full of insulin.
All right. Let me pull up a little bit like a pulled open.
Oh, we're going deep inside.
Yeah.
Now, I have not dissected any pigs.
Really? No. Not in like science class or anything back in
No, we haven't dissected any pigs.
Oh, they made us. We had to do a worm, of course, and then a frog, and then a pig, and I think there was a bat in there too.
Yes, well, I mean, between cows, pigs, and humans, there isn't a lot of difference between most species, actually. When it's just about the size and the fact that it's available, right? So coming across unwanted gizzards, essentially, of most of the mammals we eat, and having something that's easily recognizable plus would give you enough, insulin from a pancreas, right? Pigs and cows were kind of like the primary targets. So that's where they essentially, when they first started processing insulin during World War II, that's where they got it from, right? Now, the downside to doing this with animals is, like I stated, you can't boil this stuff.
Right? Well, you ruin it.
Yeah, you ruin the insulin. The insulin will break down if you boil it. And especially when it comes to the old ways of getting insulin, which is through an actual living being's pancreas. So as your body needs the insulin, it's pretty much made on demand, you know what I mean? But there's always that little stockpile. So your body's constantly making insulin through its pancreas. And that insulin's getting pumped out as you eat and to break down these sugars into your foods and stuff like that. Now, like I said, so there's always a bit there on reserve. So if you grabbed a pancreas of a pig, right, flushed out the blood, which you obviously have to flush these things out and clean them thoroughly to get the blood out.
Right.
You can squeeze that pancreas, and essentially what you're squeezing out is insulin. And that was as simple as it got. But like I said, you can't boil this stuff, so you won't kill any parasites that this pig has, or other viruses, mad cow disease, whatever the case may be, things that we check for. So they were really rolling the dice, you know what I mean? And like I said, they had to have cooling conditions, and usually when they worked with this stuff, they kept it as cold as they could without everything freezing up solid. And that wouldn't kill a lot of those same viruses and diseases that these animals could have had. This was back, like I said, this is when microscopes were the new thing. Essentially, germ theory was literally just a theory then. And but yeah, that's the simplest way to get insulin if you are a diabetic. You know what I mean? As long as you treat the pancreas as quickly as possible and try to keep the temperature down, the only thing you have to worry about in the end is the potential fact that this animal could have been infected with a disease, right?
Right.
Which most farm cattle and pig are all scanned and, they're vaxxed and they're completely antibiotic the fuck up, right? So right now we wouldn't worry about that as much, but that is the simplest way to get insulin. And it is literally that straightforward.
Yes, because well, part of the reason I wanted to discuss this was all right. So I'm not insulin dependent. I'm not diabetic,
Mm-hmm.
but if I know somebody, or if one of my neighbors, just say things break down to a point that it all goes to shit. You start working on a barter system.
Mm-hmm.
I discussed, I think, on my last stream, how myself and my neighbor, he doesn't know mechanical stuff. I know mechanical stuff. He knows farming stuff. So we have a good trade off there. And if you could make trades, if you can learn how to do stuff like making insulin that people will, it's their life depends on it in many cases.
Yes.
This is something you could use to barter. So I
Yeah.
thought this was a really good thing to cover. And you're helping people really if you get into that situation, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I remember, well, as I mentioned, I hung out with that one guy who was in the prepper group, right, or the militia there in Oshkosh. When I told these guys I knew methods on how to, because it was basically like an interview thing when they were asking. Like I knew how to make insulin in a couple of ways, and they're not always guarantees and they're not always as potent as you would like them, but at least they would get you through. They had the nerve to look at me and ask, why the fuck would you need to learn that? Or why would you need to know that? It's like
I think it's important.
63% of the US is fucking insulin dependent, you fool.
I know. Yes. My brother-in-law he's insulin dependent. Yeah. So, all right. So let's go through the process.
Mm-hmm.
How to make insulin.
It's very simple.
So, well, let's start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay, so
animal is slaughtered. How
the
long do
animal
you
is
have
slaughtered.
to get that pancreas out?
You want to work pretty quickly unless you have cooling conditions, right? So if you let's say we start at the slaughtering, because you don't leave the guts and stuff inside an animal, right? Because it'll go bad really quick. So your animal's slaughtered and your guts are being pulled out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you separate your pancreas. You've got time to work with the pancreas and the insulin that's inside, as long as it stays within around that room temperature kind of state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the body inside was much warmer. However, it was used much quicker. You know what I mean? Like I said, this stuff is it's stockpiled a little bit, but it's mostly used on demand. So you've got a while to work with it. Even if you took the pancreas out and you kept it in a cool condition for, say, 2 months, your pancreas is still most likely still good, and so is the insulin. So
Oh,
it really,
okay.
temperature and sunlight are two main things that really start to degrade insulin, especially in this method, because this is not synthetic. It's not produced by yeast, which is the other way of making insulin. It's meant to be used quickly, right?
Well, okay, but let me ask you this: what is because we can get into however many ways there are to make insulin. What is the easiest way? Number one, to make it, would it be
right,
from the animal, right?
from the animal's pancreas, yeah,
Okay, so let's
because it's
stick
already
with
made.
that. So let's
It's
stick
all
with that.
so this pancreas is already has the insulin in it. So the insulin is made already. Now all you need to do is simply extract. That
Okay.
is it. The extraction process, where um, even in the first cases, right, where the former German gentleman was escaping the Nazis to China, or I think Japan, during World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and his wife was diabetic. So this is how they kept her alive while traveling that distance on foot. is he
They were
was using
just slaughtering
was
animals as they went
well he
and
would meet he
extracting
would
the thing.
yeah, he
Okay.
would extract the pancreas from like local butchers and stuff that they came across, or anybody that was slaughtering an animal, right?
Mhm.
And he would literally just squeeze out the pancreas through a filter cloth, right? And it was just
Mhm.
probably regular cloth at the time, into a container that they could carry with them. And I mean, this was brown sludge from what he described it as, right? So we're talking, this pancreas is not even washed to the point where like the blood is pulled out. And that's what they used to keep her alive on that fucking, 2-month long journey. It's literally that simple. Now, we have obviously a better setup right now to where we could use, like I said, simple coffee filters or very fine filters to separate out the even trace amounts of blood cells or blood clots, whatever the case may be. But what you're going to collect in the bottom in these clear driplets is essentially the pure insulin that you need. It is
Really?
literally that simple. And
Okay,
you
so all you need to do is just pull the pancreas. You need to keep it cool.
keep it cool, preferably keep it cool, keep it out of sunlight as much as possible. But like I said, this is something you can do super quick, right? You can extract your insulin and then store your insulin itself.
So extracting would just be squeezing it, like literally
Yeah.
like squeezing it like a
Literally
ring
in
right
your
now.
hands. You can do it in your hands. It's so easy. But preferably you would do it in some kind of a press, right? So that you could essentially keep as much solid organic material in the press while allowing fluids to fall out. But it is literally that simple. And this is, like I said, this is for bottom of the barrel, fucking end of the line. You either get some insulin or by tonight you're dying. You know what I mean? There's your fix right there.
Okay, so let's talk. All right, so let's get a little more challenging. Let's say there's not an animal around.
And you're gonna have some issues because the next process is not easier.
All right, well, let's talk about the not easy.
Okay, so the
Right,
not easy process.
this is the making with the bread and all that, right?
Well, it's making with yeast.
Yeast, sorry.
Yes, almost the identical same yeast that you would find in the open air in packages of dried yeast, but it's they prefer to use the traditional baker's yeast, which comes in like a moist block,
Mhm.
right? And it can be cut almost like butter. But that's the one they generally use. And now for that, all you do is essentially go back to that um, burping setup for the penicillin, right? So you don't want anything to travel in. But you take yeast and you feed that yeast, and that yeast kind of goes in the same way as insulin does. It grows in chains, right? It like daisy chains itself together to multiply when it feeds. So all you're doing is feeding the culture, and as yeast dies off, it leaves behind insulin. It's an amazing process, but it's super simple. Super simple.
All right,
Now
so
for
let's
that
go.
one, yeah, for insulin made that way, you definitely want to, it's a big control on temperature, right? And again, once you're done and you've got your solution thickens up obviously. But once you're done and that culture's done growing, you have to dry it without using heat, and to let it just sit there in the open for a standard evaporation is not easy to do, right?
Well,
You
I would imagine it has to be in a cool.
Yeah, they use generally like freeze dry kind of methods. It doesn't go down to the point of freezing, but they use cool air and a simple moisture evacuation method to dry that yeast. And then that yeast is essentially grinded up, right? Or
Mhm.
the end product is grinded up, and they don't use like starch in its powdered form. They use actually minerals and almost the same thing you would get from a multivitamin to feed the yeast that they're trying to grow in and build the culture to make insulin. They don't actually put in like solid materials. So it's quite a process, and you can watch it all online. There's a great video, I think it's about 35 minutes long, that goes through their process. And they use huge big drying rooms that use a cool temperature, and like I said, they lower the moisture concentration in the air, and they basically just suck the water out. Now that end product is it's a dead yeast that has gone through the process. It's used minerals and vitamins in a solution to feed itself, so it hasn't put on any more, well, not much more, like solid material mass, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's left over is pure insulin. And in this form, when they're done making that dry insulin byproduct, it is extremely pure. So you can dilute this stuff with vast amounts of distilled water, right? So they're making insulin on a massive scale. So even if they started off with 1 pound of dry, dead culture of yeast material, which is now pure insulin, right? That could probably make 2 million bottles worth of insulin that would go out that day. We're talking massive amounts.
Well, let's talk about it on just making it at home level.
This one, I probably wouldn't say you would be very successful with much at home unless you could build a smaller version of their setups. It would be...
So it's not a practical thing to do.
It's not a more practical one. Like if you had the space and the time and you could build the say the dehumidifying kind of room that you would need, or containers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you got the formula down and the methods down to where you allowed the yeast to do its feeding, you allowed it to do its multiplication and to die off, and you managed to dry it without destroying it. I mean, even a small portion, right? Let's say you ended up with, a tablespoonful in the end. That would probably, treat maybe 65 people for a day.
But it doesn't seem like it would be a practical.
Unless,
it doesn't seem practical to me.
It's not,
all you're
it's not
talking
as,
about is
once you had if you were talking about like a shit hit the fan kind of scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had the facility set up, this would be the way you would do it if you already had your barter system set up. You know what I mean? Because you wouldn't want this stuff to sit around long. You know what I mean? In any form. Like once it's dead and done, if you can keep it cooled and controlled, it may last a couple of months. It may last, 5 months. It may only last 3 weeks. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
no,
this would be something you'd want to make with, at the very longest, like 1 week, it would sit around, but you would almost be changing it out every day, right? So every day you would be making or trading out and distributing the product that you made yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it just wouldn't quite last as long.
So in all practical sense, the only way to really do this is to do the via an animal and just bring out the pancreas. Yeah.
It's the simplest, right?
Yeah.
But now, like I said, if you want it to do where you were supplying other people, the first method's not going to work for many people.
Yeah.
where the other method works for vast numbers of people. So yeah, it's a long process and there's a lot of steps, and you would need some very uniquely designed equipment even on a small scale.
Yeah.
But you
And
would
that,
be
and I think if you know all that, you're not watching our stream to learn how to make it, right?
yeah, well, I mean, you would need quite a bit of space even for a small scale. Let's say you were supplying 50 people, right, with insulin that they needed every day. Okay. So you would probably need a space for that kind of equipment that's about the size of a 10 by 15 room. And then that's, you got to have some way to keep it cool during the hottest times, right?
Right.
And I don't mean keep it frozen, but keep it cool, which in the winter is not a problem if you get winter. But what do you do when it's like fucking, plus 32 outside and you're fucking cooking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To
Well,
get through this process.
yeah. I would think you would need some, like a cellar of some sort.
Yeah, you need to be
Basement
underground.
cellar. Yeah, for sure.
And you probably have to do the whole process underground.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even while the yeast is doing its thing, right, and it's still a living culture, much more over room temperature, and you'll start killing the yeast itself. You know what I mean? It's why when we bake, we don't add let's say when you make bread dough, you don't add boiling hot water to it, right? That's not just because you will, cook the dough to the point where it's a big gooey fucking ball, but it's also because you'll kill the yeast.
Yeah.
Once it goes over a certain temperature, you kill the yeast. Now that's the yeast can live over a room temperature, no problem. Just not to a boiling point, obviously, or anything too hot. But the insulin that it leaves behind is less, stable in warm climate. Right? It starts to break down.
I just put in a link if anybody wants to hop in with us. We're at an hour 30. So maybe we'll talk to some people if they want to jump in. If not, we'll go to the 20 talks and we'll wrap it up. Let me stop sharing.
That's all you wanted to cover was antibiotics and insulin?
Yeah, well, look, we can have another stream another time. I think we covered quite a bit.
Wow.
What do you think?
Wow. We covered insulin.
What else do you want to make?
What else do you want to make, man? What do you need?
Again, we could talk about whatever. You tell me.
Well, you gotta. Well, like I said, I mean, there's lots. There's lots, man. I know, like I said, a lot of guys, they don't cover this kind of stuff. They might know how to make even gunpowder, from scratch, but anything past that, it's beyond them. You know what I mean? That's sad because there's a lot of stuff we used to know about even just keeping things functioning in a home. Do you want to know how to make yeast?
Sure, yeah. Good.
It's very simple. You can make your own. Well, it's not called, it is yeast, but it's lift. So before we used to, buy our yeast in little packages to leaven our bread or make our breweries, happen. People used to make their own lift or yeast bomb. And that was done because yeast is all around us. It's all over you right now. It's in the air. You're breathing it in, right? It's just you haven't given it a nice, comfy home to procreate and settle down, right? Because you're always moving. The air doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it for it to all bind together in these big colonies. So the simplest way you can make your own lifts and stuff for bread or for beer, and then you just collect pieces, from other breads that have already been lifted or leavened, or from beer that's already been made. You collect the foam off the top, that becomes the next batch's yeast, right? You just keep feeding it. That's the beauty of yeast, is you just keep feeding it and you can keep making. But the first way I did it myself was I took a few raisins, right, in
Okay.
a small glass mason jar, and I think it was like 5 or 6 raisins, so not many. Some distilled water, right?
Hmm.
Drop them in there. Every day I would open it up, let it breathe, put the lid back on. And that's literally all I did, other than keeping it warm. That was literally all I did. And I made my own leaven. And you can watch these raisins. Well, I used raisins. You can use any kind of berry, but you'll know you've captured a yeast uh, culture when you notice that the raisins start to bubble. It looks like fizzy pop. You know what I mean? Around the raisins. That's the yeast actually going to work on processing those sugars and the starches. And right from that, you just keep feeding that culture until it grows. And you add it to, when you're ready, you can add it to your beer or your bread, right? And start building either a beer culture, or you can start building a bread leavening culture. Very simple. Most people wouldn't know what to do if they couldn't find a pack of yeast in the fucking store.
Yeah, that's me. I told you you're making like your own bread. I got the bread maker.
Yeah, that's true.
And I follow the instructions and I turn it on, and out comes a loaf of bread about a couple hours later.
Yeah, well, there's nothing better than a nice homemade sourdough bread, Betty.
Did you get
Nothing
into that
better.
whole thing that I heard where everybody was making, like they were trying all these different sourdoughs during the pandemic? Were you all
No,
involved
no,
in
no,
that? No, you
no,
didn't get that. Maybe
no.
you were the originator.
I doubt it.
Because from what I heard, it was like all over the place. That was like
Well,
the thing to do.
well, it's something to do in your pastime. Like I said, this thing really requires you to open the lid and let the air circulate around in your jar once a day. That's all the attention that building a yeast culture requires. And then you just keep it in a warm spot. So like, top of your fridge where the heat's going to be closer to the ceiling in your apartment or whatever the case may be. And once that culture grows enough, right?
Mm.
And you notice that these raisins are essentially they almost look like they're boiling or deep frying. You know what I mean? There's so much bubbling going on around them.
Mm-hmm.
You can now start adding starches, which is generally like flour, or you can add barley to it, and you can even add like unna- um, undenatured cornstarch, right? So most cornstarch that you buy, or even if it's a potato starch, is all denatured. You know what I mean? That's why they
Yeah.
don't grow mold, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're still used as a starch to thicken and make things into basically a jelly. But if you use like undenatured stuff or just regular flour, you can start feeding the culture that you've built. Flour or barley, just take regular fucking barley and smash it up and let the yeast have it in that jar, and you can start adding that to beers. You remove your grapes after, or your raisins after a while, because they're of no use anymore. And then you can add a little bit of sugar if you want, just to give it a straight up shot of sugar,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they'll use that too. Super easy.
Maybe we'll make. You know what? Maybe we'll do like a beer making stream down the road here.
I,
Beer
I've
and
always wanted,
alcohol.
I've always wanted to try it. I wanted to try to make my own ale, like I think they call them short beers, so they don't use um, hops,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because hops is not only a flavoring, but it's also a preservative. So these short beers, I think they called them, or something along that line. It's basically a quick ale that is meant to be made in a day or two and kind of like drunk in a day or two afterwards. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Very basic kind of thing. And it's what they used to make back in back in the old days if they drank beer or stuff at their house, right? Everybody made their own, essentially what was basic version of their beer.
Well, from what I remember reading, back in the day, everybody drank beer. Nobody drank water because
That's
the
not
water
true.
you couldn't. I
That's not
heard
true.
that was
If you
like
had a good
the
water source,
Mayflower and whatnot. Well, they
no, if
were.
you had a good water source, like a good well and stuff, people drank water.
No, but what I'm saying is like, so say on the Mayflower, they had almost nothing but beer. They didn't have any water because I guess it would go bad or something in the.
Yeah, water go rancid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't know anything about distilling then. You distill water, it doesn't go rancid. You've done it. They didn't understand distilling of water then.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't understand it. That was beyond them. If you could go back and say, hey man, just like how you distill like wine or not wines, but like rums and stuff, you can do the exact same thing with water and your water will not go rancid. If you told them that, they would have been mind blown. Mind blown. It was like dropping a fucking nuclear reactor in front of them. You know what I mean? But they didn't understand. Yeah, they didn't understand the simple method of boiling their water to fucking kill off anything.
No. Hammerhand says that he has a funny, well, I mean, it's funny and not funny, about like if you brought somebody from like, even 80 years ago to the current time, they'd like beg to like want to be killed. They just want to get help. They want to either die or go back.
Yeah, they wouldn't understand our world right now.
Oh,
we don't understand our world because it
no.
doesn't make no sense. It's an insane world we're living in here right now. But
absolutely,
yeah, no, I've always wanted to try to make my own ale, and like I said, those quick ales, right?
Yeah.
Which they made their yeast the exact same way I just described it, and when they wanted to keep some of their head as a culture, right, to add to their next batch, they would just skim it off the original batch. Right. I don't think it's called wort. Wort is what's added that's the boiling, like after it's been boiled. So after you've crushed your grains and you've added them all into your water to get the starches and sugars out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That liquid that you had left over was what they called wort. So now this is what you would add your yeast to and your hops, I believe. And then that would make your traditional beers. Basically, it's how the beer process is even done almost to this day. That stuff hasn't really changed.
So that's your homework. You got to make beer. That's your homework. You got to make beer. And then you got to come back and we got to talk about the process. You got to have pictures, slideshows, videos, the whole bit.
I think I'm going to have to.
We'll have a whole freaking stream about it.
Dude, I think I'm going to have to.
You have to now.
I have to. Like I said, I've been wanting to try it for like a year and a half now, just because I had free time, right?
You're the chemistry guy here.
Yes, but I also don't have a lot of equipment around here for looking at stuff to make sure it's actually legit. I mean, I personally like to look at things under a microscope to make sure I'm seeing what I'm seeing or what I need to see, or at least put it through some kind of like test to make sure that it's what I need. Now, that process I don't think can go very wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're making just a simple beer, you're just simply, fermenting or brewing the alcohol extract from yeast doing its work with the grains. It's very rarely that can go wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, well, as Big Tao Outlaw is saying here, it's not the same as making whiskey, right? Where you have to distill off a product. And I believe even Thumper had mentioned on one stream where you can, you got a head and a tail when you're distilling. Uh-huh. So you're basically boiling off a purified alcohol that is not good in the the start, because that's going to boil off at a different temperature than the alcohol that you want, right? But the alcohol that you want will be followed up very quickly by another alcohol that you don't want. So you got a head and a tail, and your middle is your Goldilocks zone. But with beer, I don't think you have that issue, because there is no distilling for beer, right?
No.
So you just
beer is all.
Yeah. Once
It's
you
a whole different way of doing things.
Yeah, once
This much I know.
Yeah, once you've cooked your grain and you've cooked the starch out of your grain that you're using, whether it's, barley or wheat or whatever you want to use in the grains for this beer, once you boiled that off, you're just left with an end product that you need the yeast to go to work on. That's it. And then it sits for a few days.
Yeah.
And the longer you leave it, the stronger the alcohol gets. Which, I mean, I think that's why when it comes to distilling like whiskeys and moonshines and things like that, I believe they let that wort process, or the process of fermentation, go a lot longer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you end up with a much higher alcohol content, and that's where you can get like alcohols that'll make you go blind. So if you distilled all the alcohol off out of a lot of beer, you wouldn't get much.
What's funny is I have a friend who has a brewery, and he'll go on into this stuff, and I start glazing over. I'm like, okay. It's just that. But I could learn to do. I'd like to learn how to do small stuff. And he does mass scale stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you can go to these microbreweries. I know there's a few around here that let you brew your own blend. They have everything there, and you just kind of mix it all up. And I think it's like a week-long process. But this is also the type that is used, with hops, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the small scale that I'm talking about doesn't require hops, and it also doesn't last long. You know what I mean? It's not a long process to make, and it's not going to last that long. So you would have to do small scales that you can get through in a day or two.
Huh.
Before it becomes, something that's rancid.
Well, how about you do this? You do this. We'll do the next time we do this thing. You do something about small scale, and then you do something that will last a little longer, so people have options.
Well, I mean, hops is the preserver, right?
Yeah.
Hops and the bottling process.
I think I think from what I remember, they were saying they get a lot of hops out of the Ukraine. So like the beer makers
we get a lot of wheat out of the Ukraine.
Upset.
There's a lot of you really might want to start looking at the possibility of a fucking food shortage very quickly.
Yeah, I know.
And it isn't just because of Ukraine, but it's because of what, our governments have done with crops in the last year.
I know. They're having people burn off crops and all that.
And destroy them. For what reason? None. But we'll pay you to destroy them. And we'll tax you if you fucking try to put them into the market, to the point where, you won't be able to afford to grow it and make anything. This is an engineered thing, trust me.
Yeah.
I am personally going to start on my garden here this week.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to go. I spent half this weekend getting everything set. I'm not quite to planning stage, but it's real good. Probably by next week.
Yeah, it's too cold here yet. I mean, we're still getting frost and stuff, but I'm going to be starting like rototilling the soil out there, and adding in any of the we have a lot of June bugs and stuff here, and they grow. Ew. They start off as these huge fucking larvae, and they love your garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only problem I have is squirrels. I gotta figure out a way to get. They'll stay out mostly, but for some reason, one found my strawberry. I got a strawberry bush, and it would eat like half a strawberry. And I'd be like, you bastard. Like, I'd be watching the strawberries grow. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to eat it. And then fucking squirrel would eat like half of it. I'm like, mother, let's fuck.
Yeah, no, we have deer here.
I got deer by me too, but they leave. I pen off my stuff so they stay out.
Well, I didn't have mine penned off last year, and I had to deal with those fuckers all the time.
Yeah, they'll eat
But
everything.
carrots, man. I've never been to a place that grows carrots that taste so fucking good in my life. And this is basically an ocean floor, this area. So it's a lot of sand, right?
Yeah.
But you can smell them as you're walking up to them. Like, you don't have to bend over and pick one out of the ground and hold it under your nose. You pull one out of the ground and all you smell around you is carrot. And it smells fucking good, dude.
Oh, I
Like,
love
super
carrots.
good.
I love carrots.
Yeah, no, they grow amazing here. And like I said, that flavor, I mean, my God, it can't be beat.
I leave a section of my area for my gardens for the carrots, but I only grow them like baby carrots. I don't grow the whole big things.
I think we grew like 42 pounds or something last year right out here in like 3 little rows that were 6 feet long.
Nice.
Yeah. And I mean, I did one side of the bed and spread them out a little further, but my kid's mom did the other side and they were too clustered together. So they were like all really packed together and fucking growing around each other. Not the pretty ones that you see in the bags at the store. You know, but
they all grow all weird ways.
Yeah. Yeah, well, actually I didn't have a snail problem here. I did have one in Wisconsin though. Took care of them with like little caps of beer, to be honest with you.
Speaking of beer, Big Tao Outlaw wanted to know what flavor will your beer be?
I was thinking about going with, because the traditional thing was, wheat was, very regulated in the old days because wheat was what they used for, your breads and stuff. And bread was literally like life. So they tried to minimize how much wheat they used by replacing it with other grains like barley and stuff like that. So I might go with something that's leaning heavily into the barley. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So to make like a barley beer, it still may have like a trace amounts of wheat and stuff to it, but
cheese
beer. But yeah, I think I'm going to lead to more of like one of those old time peasant level barley beers.
And Dax saying winter wheat ale. Oh, that's lovely. They have my buddy with the brewery. He does this one. He puts this spice in. I forget the name of the spice, and god damn, it is so good.
Well, you can add nutmeg and everything to this
to make almost it might be Christmas. It might be a nut. Yeah, it's like some kind. It's a fall one. Like he's almost out of it, and fall winter, and it's God, I love it.
Well, nutmeg is the smell of Christmas, right? So when even in pumpkin spice, I want to say the spice part is quite a large amount of nutmeg. But yeah,
pumpkin spice.
Me too. But
last Polska Bob, he's damning me to hell for making the dancing Hillary deepfake. Polska, guess what? I did a new one this weekend, and I sent it to Blake. So we'll see if he runs that one too. And it is, you thought the current one is bad. This one is like twice as bad. All right, let's get ready to do the 20 talks.
What is this?
Thing. So I end the stream with just 20 random talks.
Okay.
TikToks, do you use TikTok at all?
Not much, because I got annoyed with it. Rye. Yeah. Rye is another one that I wanted to add with that barley. Rye, bit of oats, and mostly barley.
So yeah, the TikTok. I mean, it's look about half the MGTOW guys are using TikTok for all their content.
Yeah.
I know I dip into it for sure because it's a. I mean, when you see what the culture, it's really a look on culture.
Yeah, I know it's a great source for some of that stuff. It's
Oh
just
my
my buddies
god.
were fucking, slamming me with 30 goddamn videos a day, never saying hello or fuck all.
Yeah,
Right. That's all they sent. So I started sending them gay porn.
yeah, but then you have to look at it to send it to them.
Well, it didn't hurt my feelings as much as it hurt his.
Okay, so this is just random. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to come up. Who knows? Let's see. I mean, last week I was in like the Spanish side of TikTok and Ukraine video footage. Apparently, like Facebook and all the other crap isn't working over on that side of the world. So everybody's using TikTok for it. But the problem is, and it's really deceptive, is they're taking video game footage and they're saying they're tagging it as Ukraine, and that's really fucked up to me.
That's major fucking news organizations doing that too.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're the biggest fucking liars of what's going on over there out of the group.
Yep. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what we get. Here we go. This guy looks like he's doing a water transfer. Water transfer is kind of neat.
That's super cool.
Gotta have a real steady hand. Some people go over the top with it. Now I know you're not into car stuff.
No.
But man, I've gone to some car shows and people will just over the top with these hydro dipping things. They'll dip like all their engine covers will have it.
Well, I'd definitely like to give it a try. It's just I don't know how good I would be. Anything outside of a solid color.
Takes a deaf hand, man. That's pretty cool. What is this? Some kind of helmet.
Dude, how do they fucking do all the writing and stuff?
Well, it's like do you ever make a model when you were a kid? Like like a car model, or well, you remember like when you get to you're all done with the model and then you have the little decals, but they're water transferred.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember doing any of that? That's basically what this is.
So is it anything like those temporary tattoos we used to get as kids? Where you'd use water to transfer it from the paper to your skin?
Kinda, yeah. Yeah, that's about as close as a description you can get. I think these are a little more heavy. There's a little more material to it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what's next. Oh boy, here we go. Now, for some reason, I can't put the sound.
It's Titania.
Jesus Christ! Half of TikTok is this kind of nuts. Kind of crap.
No, it's tits and ass, dude.
Yeah, she's thick. She's a thick girl, and she's crazy girl. All right, so that was number. I got it marked down. I got to keep track of what we're at here. Here's my little house.
Tiny house living.
I wouldn't do the tiny house. I'm not a tiny house kind of thing. I'm not into the tiny house.
Oh, got a camper lifestyle, bro.
Well, I do have believe it or not, I have an RV.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I bought it during the pandemic because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I figured maybe I need a lifeboat, And
I'd like to have a houseboat myself.
It was a houseboat. That's a whole different. That would be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
There's one of my subs he's like sailing down to South America and whatnot.
Nice.
I think he's down there right now.
Could he stop here and pick me up?
You're a little out of the way.
Yeah, I'm a little far away from the ocean, but
So yeah, my neighbor, I bought this RV from a neighbor who was like, he didn't want it. He just like get rid of it. It needed work though, so I had to do a lot of work to it. But I mean, I take it camping now that gas is so expensive. I might not take it camping as much as I'd like, but it's totally. I made it totally self-sustained.
When I bought my new car in 2017, I used to be able to fill that thing up with $55. $55 does not even get me a half a tank right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's not a big car.
All right. So I had enough of the tiny house here. Here you go. You want a pancreas, right?
Yep.
Goats and sheep, right? They're
Yep,
useful for the pancreas.
Pretty much. I mean, like I said, all that stuff transfers over mammal to mammal. It's just, who gives me more? And there's some with wheels. Look at that, Meals on Wheels.
And there you go. There's some more pancreases.
I'd have to say the most interesting thing I've seen done with organs is the cell stripping, which I don't know why they aren't doing this. Well, I do know. It's all about money. Why they don't do this for organ transplant for people, because right now, for me to take a organ from somebody else, say, and put it in myself, my body doesn't recognize it as mine, so it rejects it. And they have to put you on drugs for the rest of your life to stop your body from rejecting that organ, right?
Uh-huh.
There is a method that a couple of young scientists actually developed to strip an organ of the cells and to put on the recipient cells back onto the scaffolding, right? So essentially, this isn't a foreign organ anymore. It's now that body's organ. So there's no need for fucking, immune rejection drugs. That organ is now yours. And it's not being taken into consideration for organ transplant, which would also make any organ be transplantable rather than having to go through specific of, blood types and things of that nature, right? It would vastly open up the number of organs that are on that list, because it wouldn't be a foreign organ to your body anymore. It would be recognized as your organ because it's your cells that are actually on the scaffolding. It's amazing stuff. Amazing.
Speaking of organ donors, I don't know if you
can't have mine.
Well, I don't know if you've been seeing this guy on the screen. It's a little freaky, actually. He's like pretending he's running and glitching and sliding all over the room, and it's a little weird. I mean, it's kind of cool, but a little weird. He's got some game. He's got some skills.
He's got skills, homie.
Skills
you don't have.
See, now this is like weird that we talk about. You know what it was? I must have been Googling stuff, and this is the weird, Google for looking up animal pancreases and whatnot, and then this is what happens.
What the fuck are they doing?
I don't know what you tell me. I guess let's see.
Is this like some kind of weird food porn with animals?
I don't know, man. What is going on here?
I don't know either. Oh, yeah, Bessie. Smash that fucking dragon fruit into your face, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I don't even know what to make of that.
Oh my god. What the fuck is going on there?
Oh, see, they're doing some kind of prank.
Oh my god, that would creep me the fuck right out.
They're gonna make this person have a heart attack. Jesus Christ! Look at the size of this. Is this a woman or a guy?
This is a guy in.
No, the person in the pants. The pink.
That's what I'm saying. It's a dude.
That's a guy. Come on, stop it.
No, it is. That's a dude.
Is it? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I can't tell if that's a dude or a chick.
See, now right at this point, I'd be smashing.
Yeah, now look, see, he's gonna get. See, people kind of watch for this stuff. They pull these pranks, and they're gonna get hit. They're gonna get shot. Yeah, that is a dude, I guess.
I would have threw the fucking garbage can. Fuck that little stick. The goddamn garbage can. Smash, motherfucker. I don't care what it is.
Keep this going. Come on, this got to be a setup. He's got to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I ain't buying this. All right. So, see, now I getting chickens. Jesus.
Hard
All right.
Rock Chicken.
Well, what's happening here?
I
Cat
don't know.
lady. Cat lady.
Cat lady in bathrobe.
Cat lady. Sexy cat lady. Is she going to drop the robe?
She's fully clothed.
See.
She's fully clothed.
Look at all those cats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm counting 5, 6 cats. 6 cats.
That's probably got 8 million views.
Oh, no. Let's see. Well, 33,000 likes. I don't think it tells me views on here. Unbelievable. Cats. Here's a goat dog. That's it. Get him. Get him. Get him.
Fuck with me.
That's
I
what
fuck
you
with
get.
you.
That's what you get, motherfucker. That's great. That was a good one. That might be my winner of the night.
Definitely.
What's
oh my god.
happening here?
Heavy duty mechanics here.
Yeah. Well, this is probably like in. It looks like they're making bolts or something.
Yeah.
This is like. Here you go. This is like probably in China, and this is what. No regulations. This is what things look like.
Don't worry, they don't look much different here in the Western world.
You'd
be surprised, dude. Like smelteries and factories and stuff like that, especially with steel, like they're fucking horrible places to be.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
You know, I met a few guys that worked at the smeltery there outside of Oshkosh, and it's like, yeah, dude, worst experience of their fucking life.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
They fucking hated it. And I mean, they were doing just the smelting, right? So they were making just mostly these big steel buttons, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't actually shaping it much. They were just foundering it, right? And yeah, dude, they come back because they use black sand as the form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would come back just like fucking black from head to toe. You swear they were coal miners, he said.
God. Oh, they're making marbles.
Marbles. Awesome.
Marbles. Yeah.
So it's glass.
Glass. Yeah, cool.
That's awesome.
All
there
right.
You go, baby. Now we're talking.
Oh!
Brutal. That was like beef.
Oh, shit. Look at that. Oh, you fucking dumbass.
Dude, that was almost as bad as my crash, but at least mine wasn't on the road.
Sometimes, like, this is probably like in Florida or South Carolina or some shit. These people,
you can drive your quads down the street.
Well, you're not supposed to, but this is what people do. They get in these gangs and they go riding down the road like a bunch of freaking morons. But man, look at that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay,
that brings back memories. Don't break your hips, guys.
Yeah. Well, he's unseated the dogs. He's my number one. He's my winner for tonight. So far, we still got. Nice. Gas prices going up now over $4. So he's whoever this is taking a goat or a horse or some shit.
It's a horse, dude.
That horse strapped on a car body.
Hey, baby, you want to go for a ride in my car?
Yeah.
Don't mind the hair.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the same kind of car Richard Cooper has, right?
That's the same kind of guys he likes, too.
Oh.
Fuck that freak.
Let's see. This is not right. See, I can't.
Fattest part of my ass.
I can't put the sound on for whatever reason. And
I had a problem with that. I had to restart my whole fucking computer to get it to stop.
No, I can't get the sound to play while I'm doing the talks here.
No.
That's all right. Who knows what this is? That's a loser. Oh, is that the Evel Knievel motorcycle? Yes.
Oh my God.
How old are you, Chris, if you don't mind me asking?
39, I think.
You're probably too young for the Evel Knievel stunt cycle.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of his
see this
older
thing he's
videos.
winding up. Okay, so you had this evil Knievel and you wind him the hell up. You get this thing cranking. And then
Really?
you launch him. Yeah, look at this.
Dude. So that's like a classic toy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had it.
Holy fuck, that thing just went.
Yeah, he does a wheel. Yeah, he lost his helmet there. And wow, he's going pretty far with this thing. Cool.
He has an 87 Banshee. Is it a 350 or 200?
Where
87.
are you seeing that? Where am I seeing that?
Dak was saying the D-Man. I thought he said it was a 200 or something. Don't worry, they still go like snot.
Oh, look at this dog. He's freaking climbing the tree. Check that shit out. Wow. Catch him, buddy. Catch him. It's a good way to break the dog's leg if you don't catch him. It's got to be a German Shepherd.
Probably a German Shepherd cross.
Yeah, he doesn't look pre-breed.
No, or he could be one of those other ones. Something. It's one of those dogs that they're also using as a police dog now to replace the German Shepherds because they don't have the hip problems that German Shepherds have.
Yeah. Oh
I see some nipples. Nipple time. Not really into the dark meat, but I'd give her a go.
Oh, come on. That's pretty good right there.
Yeah, well, she's very mulatto looking, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm not into dark girls, man.
She looks like an island girl.
It helps where I'm trying to become a racist.
Got to be an island boy.
Yeah, well, it helps me where I'm trying to become a racist. I mean, I don't already find black girls attractive, so I'm halfway there, I think.
Let's see what we got here. What the heck is this thing? What the hell is that? Dude, what the hell? Is that like some kind of... Are they digging like a ditch? They running wires or something? I didn't quite catch what that was that went underground. This is pre-ream. Ditch witch. They're drilling into the ground.
I've done enough drilling, thanks.
Yeah.
Oil rigs will do that for you.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. Oh, God. Look at this gap in that chick's teeth.
What the fuck is her damage, dude?
Oh, man. That's like damage level 7. I wouldn't say she's quite 10 because...
No, the tattooed face and split tongue is definitely...
Yeah, that's when you start... Dude, oh, my God. I don't know. It's getting worse and worse. And every once in a while, I'll get one of those videos coming up with these chicks with the face tattoos and the
oh my God,
the tongue split. Oh, it's disgusting.
Nice figure.
Yeah,
nice look. I like where this is going.
Oh, she's gonna do some stupid dance. There you go. There you go.
Not get naked at all.
No,
well, damn it.
It's TikTok. You know, it's about the nips. About all you're gonna see. That's about it.
I have paid for full nudity. What the fuck?
TikTok's free, my friend.
TikTok's free. That's true. That is true.
All right. So tonight seems to be chicks and dogs. Look at this fucking dog.
Nicely done.
Oh yeah. Oh, he keeps going. Here he goes. He's going down again. He's like, come on, a little more.
Golden Labs, man, they love the fucking snow.
Yeah, well, clearly.
My sister had one, dude. He was so happy to be outside in the winter. Like, fuck. Loved it. My old dog, which was a blue heeler black lab cross, he hated it.
Oh, that is funny as shit. Oh, hello. I think that one takes my number one, the dog sliding down the hill. That's number one. We got a couple left.
How did I know she was going to be Asian?
Yeah, but what was the point of this video?
Nothing.
Like, there's literally no point to this video.
Asian ass right there. As soon as I saw that lower end, I was like, this is either a skinny dude or an Asian chick.
Could be both.
Could be both.
You don't know these days.
No, you don't. And like I was saying, those Asian people look fair, even the men.
Yeah. Dude, what is this, like a lowrider truck? Yeah, low.
Hopefully it's a truck driver going to kick some cop's ass.
Yeah, but look how low that thing's riding.
That's sweet, man.
Oh wow! Let's check out the
Fucking
interior.
tricked right the fuck out.
Yeah.
He's at border crossing. That's what it looks like. Border crossing. Checking it out. Dude, I'd fucking be like, yeah, we have to drive this thing.
Well, it's
Sorry.
got to be on bags.
Yeah. I have to take it for a ride to make sure it's, good. Dude.
Hell yeah.
Dude. No, that's a fucking ride. I gotta sell my car and get one of those.
Hey, you could live in one of those, right?
Oh, fuck yeah. Well, I have my 3-ton here. I mean, that was a great little unit. I was thinking about converting the back end to carry like a live-in trailer kind of thing rather than just a flat deck. But there you go. She's fit.
Yeah, she is.
She's fit. But yeah, man, the fucking cost of converting over all that unit was just like, not really worth it. Not really worth it.
That's speaking of chassis, that's a good rig. That's a good chassis there.
Well, it's not as good as that. What's her name? Megan Blue or something she's called on Instagram. Holy fuck. Tatted and pierced up. She still looks fucking phenomenal.
I'm not familiar with that. I don't do Instagram.
No. She's the chick that can have her tats and I'll still enjoy the rest. Because man, she's got a perfect figure.
This is number 20. Oh man.
Oh. That's hardcore hillbillying right there, buddy.
Oh, that is redneck.
That's hillbilly meets like backwoods Aussie.
Neck. Oh man. How is he gonna go down the road with that thing? Like, what is he thinking? How far is he gonna get?
Looks like the front end's ready to pop right off fucking ground.
Yep. Do we do a bonus?
All right, let's see what else we got.
One more bonus. Oh, and it's crap.
Oh, fuck that. Skip that. We're not doing art. We're not doing art. Whatever that is.
Oh, it's just some guy talking. Oh, it's another guy talking.
Oh my god, your TikTok is lame.
Oh, we shouldn't have done the bonus. The bonus fucked it up. See, this is we should have left it at the girl dancing.
Yeah.
All right, one more.
Oh, was it? No,
what's going on here? Come drive your car. Oh,
hey. I've put a bike in a place like that before.
Oh man, that car is fucked.
It's about to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is not exactly the way you would want to use that piece of equipment to tow a vehicle out, but
nope.
It is what it is today.
Or they're not gonna pick it up by the roof.
I don't think the purpose is right now to save this vehicle.
Clearly not. Oh yeah, it's done. Oh, yeah.
And that's how it happened.
There you go. That is an insurance claim right there.
They'd be a fun unit to go through town with.
It's like the Killdozer.
Yeah, the Killdozer. That was epic. That was epic. I don't think they would have stopped him even if he didn't fall into that fucking hole.
Yeah.
Be like, right. What are they gonna do? The thing's fucking 4 inches of solid steel all around. The biggest thing you got is a 12 gauge or fucking, sniper rifle with probably 308. You aren't gonna fucking do nothing to that, dude. You need explosives and shit to stop fucking vehicles of that size.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, if he didn't fall into that basement or whatever it was he fell into and couldn't get out, they never would have stopped him.
Absolutely not.
Fuel. Until he ran out of fuel. Other than that, get the fuck out of the way, man. Your presence here is purposeless.
Yep. All right. That's the 20 talks. And with that, that's the show.
2 hours, 17 minutes.
Yeah, we ran a little over. That's all right. I had fun. I learned stuff. I hope some of my audience learned some stuff. And I hope the future audience who will watch this later will learn some stuff. because
Never hurts.
you know some stuff.
Hey,
It's
man,
good to know stuff.
I learned it all on my own. You don't need a teacher to teach you anything, or college or fucking school of any kind. All this information is all available freely. Now, if you want to pay me $1,500, I will take your $1,500 and sell you
No,
the
no,
same information.
you guys, you got to charge $3,000.
No,
You got to charge more than a brain surgeon.
yeah, but I want to be a deal for the guys, obviously.
Well, you give them a discount coupon or something. You know, make
Oh.
them feel like they're getting a deal. You know,
The third visit's free, or
there you go.
50% off.
You give them a reach around.
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah, totally.
All
Alrighty.
right. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you
No
for your
problem, man.
information. And you got anything else you want to say? Finish it up. You've done a lot of talking.
I think I'm done talking.
All right. All right, guys. It's been fun. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next time. Night.
Latest.